Hello, friends and neighbors, and welcome back to the poem of the day for today, Saturday, September the 13th, 2025. Today will be, I think, our last sonnet, Shakespearean sonnet from this cycle. We'll return, obviously, much later because we've only done, I think, 6 out of 154, so there will be far more material to be read from William Shakespeare at a later time. But I think doing these kind of 5-day cycles or series is kind of enough at a time before switching to something else. So for today's sonnet, this is Sonnet 53, and it comes from the first series of about 120 or so sonnets that are written to the fair young man. And this one is, like the other ones we've discussed, focusing a lot on youth and beauty as those things being tied together. In this case, the speaker is taking a sort of Neoplatonist turn in his comparisons and descriptions, and so it's heavily reliant upon metaphor, and that's one of the things that you'll hear as we go through this one. So this is Sonnet 53 by William Shakespeare. What is your substance? Whereof are you made? That millions of strange shadows on you tend. Since every one hath, every one shade, and you, but one, can every shadow lend. Describe Adonis, and the counterfeit is poorly imitated after you. On Helen's cheek all art of beauty set, and you in Grecian tires are painted new, speak of the spring and foison of the year. The one doth shadow of your beauty show, the other as your bounty doth appear. And you, in every blessed shape we know, in all external grace you have some part, but you like none you, for constant heart. Okay. You probably heard as I was reading that early in the sonnet, in the first quatrain, there are a lot of midline breaks. There's a lot of caesuras in the line broken off by commas. So the first 2 lines are one rhetorical question, which sets up the sort of thesis question of the sonnet. What is your substance? Where are of you made? Right there in the first line, we have it broken quite nearly in half. 2 questions, one that sort of follows up on, but also rephrases the first. And these, again, being directed to the fair young man, is asking, what are you made of? But it's talking about substance, not just in matter, but in the Platonic sense. And the question that's the reason the speaker's asking this question is, he says that millions of strange shadows on you tend. And I think this is a difficult line, but what I'm trying to pull out of this is strange being not necessarily weird, but just not belonging to the young man himself. And so there's all of these images or reflections, shadows, again, not in exactly the literal sense of what's blocked in the sunlight and causes darkness on the ground, but in the sense of reflections, images, and all of those follow or serve this young man, whereas usually one person has kind of a direct reflection or a direct representation of themselves. There are so many that follow this young man, but none of them are adequate in fully representing him. And my reading for that is coming out of just understanding this as Neoplatonist. And that's why I'm trying to read shadows as kind of further images. If we're thinking, for example, of the allegory of the cave, right? The projections of the objects out upon the wall that are a reference to a real substance, a real thing itself, but are kind of an imitation that are lacking the full substance of it. And then he continues, and this is where we get a lot of the breaks. Since everyone hath everyone one shade, and you but one can every shadow lend. That's a tough two lines. And I think that what it's saying is that each of these images and reflections of the fair young man are slightly different, but they all have their source in him. So it's sort of like this refraction of light, wherein all of these beautiful things that pass through him are beautiful and unique in their own right, but they all come from him, and they're all not. They're kind of just cheap pieces. They're all incomplete versions or visions of who he is. In the second quatrain, the speaker is trying on a series of comparisons, and comparisons to the kind of most extreme examples of beauty. And so we get these allusions to ancient Greece. It says, describe Adonis, and the counterfeit is poorly imitated after you. So if somebody wanted to make an art piece of Adonis, and Adonis was supposedly the most beautiful young man, such that even the gods like Venus fell in love with him, that's just a cheap imitation of you. Somebody would say that, oh, excuse me, that Adonis looks like this fair young man, but it still is just kind of off. It's a caricature. It doesn't capture his beauty and essence. Second comparison here is another illusion. On Helen's cheek, all art and beauty are set, and you and Grecian tires are painted new. And Grecian tires, the footnote suggests Greek costume and headdress. So again, if someone is trying to draw up Helen, the most beautiful woman in ancient Greece that launched the Trojan War, when they're finished with their art piece, it's really just you dressed up in Greek clothes. Excuse me. And then even comparisons to nature, right? Springtime and harvest. Um, the, what he's saying with spring and harvest, the one doth shadow of your beauty show, the other as your bounty doth appear. And so spring is a shadow of your beauty, and even the harvest, all the beautiful things that come from the harvest and all the things that sustain us from the harvest, he's liking to your bounty, right? The things that you offer and the things that you give off. And so the last then, I'm sorry, I missed line 12. And you in every blessed shape we show. All of the beautiful things of the harvest, but also all of the beautiful things that we know as beautiful come from you and from the source in you. So that's where he kind of finishes this description of the fair young man being like a platonic ideal of beauty, where all other things, even the beauty of nature and the beauty of art, fail in comparison. Now, that answers the rhetorical question that's set up, in a sense, in the first two lines. And so the couplet then is another one of those summarizing couplets, not one that offers another turn. It reads, in all external grace you have some part, but you like none you for constant heart. This is a tough, I think, final couplet. The external grace I'm reading as the outward beauty, and it says that you have some part in all outward beauty. So anything that we glimpse in the natural world or in art or in other people that are beautiful has some part in you. It's some shape or some reflection of you. But you like none, you're not like any of them. None of them are like you. And then that last thing is for constant heart, which I think is difficult. I think perhaps it suggests some immortality or some living forever, that there's a spiritedness or a liveliness within the man that can't be captured by all of the reproductions and imitations, or even the reflections and glimpses that he catches in other things that aren't the young man. But right at the end, there's another one of those chiasmuses that make this kind of difficult to read. Remember, a chiasmus is a sort of reflection of two phrases upon a middle point. So it goes A, B, B, A. And the John Keats example is beauty is truth, truth, beauty. Here we have, but you like none you. So you, none you. Right at the end there in the couplet in the final line. And that's very similar to an ending couplet that we had a couple of poems ago, using this chiasmus to make one final turn to suggest that all of the metaphors that I've used throughout don't quite work as exactly a mirror or exactly a hinge point the way that a chiasmus might suggest. That he's using the chiasmus to suggest that the metaphors themselves are actually weak in comparison. So this is a devotional sonnet as opposed to some of the rest that we've read, especially the ones that were reflections on love and marriage and beauty in a way that um, I found kind of ironic, or I found a little bit limiting. This is a devotional one that is really quite aspirational, almost hyperbolic. But also, think of being on the receiving end of this. This is quite a Valentine to receive, I think. So, again, I think this probably wraps up our Shakespeare sonnet series for now, and we'll turn to something else tomorrow. I hope that you were able to enjoy some of the sonnets, or at least learn a little bit more about them. And we'll return at some point back to Shakespeare in the future. In the meantime, I wish you all peace.